Blot, blot, blot. What are you? Nobody knows, and that is why we love you. Hello everyone, this is Highballman here with my last individual Terracon review with Prime Blight. Is his new repurposed name. His original name was Blot. Copyright issues, I don't know. Some of these names, and I think a lot of other fans will agree with me, we have no idea why they would lose the trademarks on these, why anybody else would take them. I mean, who, outside of maybe like a pen designer or something with ink, who would ever use Blot just as a term that they need to trademark? I don't know, but here he is with his proper name, Blot, and we're going to talk about him. This guy is arguably everybody's favorite new Terracon. I'm not sure entirely how I feel about that, but I'll talk about it at the end. But needless to say, it's really hard not to like this guy. You can see right away here that he is the best looking when it comes to holding his weapon. The way that he sort of looks like a knuckle-dragging kind of beast makes it seem very, very appropriate that he'd be carrying this around in his mouth. You can almost see the other Terracons like playing fetch with him with this thing, since he's probably the least intelligent out of all of them, given his, his background as being disgusting and hiding in caves and things like that. We're going to do a comparison to his G1 self to just prove, again, that he doesn't really look like anything. This is the original Blot. As you can see, they match the purple and the blue pretty well. It comes across more evenly on camera, although you can hopefully see that the original one's purple is a little bit darker than the new ones, just for color comparison. Other than that, they really do match. They've got long arms with little fingers on them, they've got two legs, and they've got very interesting long heads with, in his case, a long chin, in his case, a long nose. So before we talk about the new guy, I just want to bring up something that's an issue with me that I didn't like about this guy, and I talked about this in my review. He has this neat little backpack here, and you can mount his robot mode gun on it. It's very cool. He's the only one in this group of Terracons that gets a piece like this, although that means he doesn't get an individual beast mode gun, but whatever. And it attaches onto these two peg holes here. What that means, and I don't know if you can see his face here, it leaves him sort of looking down. The best way to position his head is up, like this. That has him looking forward, gives him a little bit of a more defined body, I guess you could say. And it lets you actually access the head posability. So that's something that I never really liked about this guy, that he wasn't looking forward when you had this on him. Now, while this guy, the new one, doesn't have head posability, he is definitely looking forward with his mohawk spines going down here, his nice open jaw with teeth in it. Let's go through some more details. Ball-jointed shoulders, arms down here with, I really wish these were grasping fingers. I know that he'll be able to hold his hammer in robot mode, but I think him being able to hold this in beast mode would have made him so much cooler. He would have been, hands down, by miles, everybody's favorite. Which, I don't know if he is everybody's favorite by miles, but I think that would have been a nice touch. He has a swivel here, although it's a transformation joint. He doesn't get much of an elbow out of it, but you can tweak this a little bit, and we'll talk about that in a sec. He's got ball-jointed hips, which have a cut going forward if you want to make him look like he has to go to the bathroom. And just like anybody that really has to go to the bathroom, he cannot stand up that well. But they swing up and around if you need them to. His hands here and his heels really don't do much, because they fold all the way up. They're not really good as supports. And if you try to fold them out, they fold out about that much and can give him some extra support back here, but they fold down underneath, meaning you can't use them as extra. Oh. Well, okay, I guess you can kind of... Oh no, this one folded back up. They don't make for the best heel supports, unlike Ripper Snapper's little T-Rex dragon arms in his robot mode. So that's really it for Blot here. This guy, I know I said in the last video that Cutthroat was not the best, or not the best, he wasn't one of my favorites of this group, primarily because he was a very faithful port of the original, which to me didn't really fit the whole let's copy over the Terracons but make them new and better thing that's running throughout this team. He kind of walks the line and gets away with it. He's very much like this guy. He follows his body style exactly, but considering that this guy's whole thing is that he's vaguely, what, a goblin of some kind, or a troll? I don't really know. Blot's whole thing is that he is nothing when he's not a robot. Whereas this guy was actually made into something. It's definitely not a dragon, although that's what they call it on the box, because everything in Prime that was a beast had to be a dragon, except for Thundertron, who got away with not being a dragon. And that's actually a really good toy. I hope to review that at some point in the future. So it was interesting. That was a tangent for a moment, sorry about this. But that was a moment where I hope a lot of other people thought like myself, hey, maybe they're actually doing beast formers again. And then nothing happened for a while, and then boom, dragons everywhere. But yeah, this guy has he's got ears, he's got a well-defined face, and that really helps actually make him into something. And I think that's the reason he succeeds. With Windracer, or with Cutthroat, sorry. With Cutthroat, the thing is, we knew what his original beast mode was. It was a vaguely pterodactyl-like monster thing. Blot wasn't anything to begin with, so he did have room for improvement, even if it was only slight, because that's really all he needed. He was already well posable for a G1 toy. He had shoulders, sort of scary, clicky elbows. A lot of G1 toys have kind of scary, almost ratchets going on, and hips. This guy also has shoulders, something of an elbow, and hips. So they match up well. It's kind of cheating to say that he's much different from Cutthroat in that he was ported differently. It's just that I think I like the original Blot better, so I'm more inclined to like this guy. Okay, so we're going to start on transformation for this guy, although we're not going to go straight to robot mode, because I have a fan mode for him. If you just flip up, this is, again, it's not a ratchet, it's just one of those where, you know, there's flat sides to the hinge, so that this can lock into place, really in his robot mode. But you can fold this out in such a way that he's looking straight forward, and you can get, albeit not a terribly good looking one, you can get a quadruped, much more knuckle dragger looking beast out of him, if you just pardon the fact that he has apparently had his Adam's apple entirely removed and his throat not sewn up. I don't think this was intentional. It was something I found on my own, but I really like it. He's got backwards knees here, but he actually kind of looks like a dog, which again kind of fits into the whole the other Terracons would play fetch with him. I could totally see this guy being their pet, seeing as how he's gross and probably stupid. So this is a fun thing I like. It makes for a good way to display him. As a collector, I'm not quite as into display as some other people, but if I find something that I really enjoy, then I will set up my shelves with certain poses, certain fan modes, things like that, to make it a little bit more interesting, at least for me to look at. And keep this kind of thing in mind. I'm not going to talk about it now, but I will in my Abominous combination video, because I think I'll have some extra time to do stuff there. But this is going to come in very handy and be the beautiful bit of icing on the cake that is this combiner team. So try to figure out what it is if you can. Otherwise, just wait to see what I have to say. So let's finish this. Fold this all the way up onto his back there. And now we invert him like so. No surprise that these are his legs, these are his arms. Then what we're going to do is untab this swing everything down, and then what you're going to see are these tabs which rest sort of on these other tabs to keep this from closing back up. Nothing actually tabs into slots, which is different from his beast mode. These are positioned in a way that they actually do tab in to this chest piece when they're locked like this, which is also helpful for keeping his torso the right shape. And then, once we get this folded up, we can come down here, pardon my fingernails, and we can lift up his head. This is easier to do when the chest is completely folded down, but I like the head reveal, so that's what we're going with. And here we have Blot in his robot mode. There's not much here that we haven't seen before besides the head, although I do want to point out something that, again, I don't know if this is intentional, but he's got a really nice yellow ridge down the center of his body, which matches up to the ridge on the top of his head. I'm just going to say right now I have not actually finished watching Transformers Prime as of this recording. I sort of fell out of watching it when Beast Hunters was just starting, so I don't know if this guy actually showed up in the show, but I could totally imagine this being sort of where his head actually goes and then this part disappears. But just a thought. It's more yellow to tie him together with yellow on everybody else. So let's look at this new detail, his head, which is nice. It's got a really nice amount of paint on it as opposed to the others, or at least it's more well-defined than the others. He looks a lot like some version of Soundwave, which is a little bit weird. I'm not sure that this head entirely fits him, but the rest of the body does, so I'm not really going to complain about it. Let's move to his G1 form. I'm just transforming this off camera here, mainly so we can get done faster, and so we can do a comparison of the two. Okay, and we are ready. So, whoop, that's too close. So if we get G1 Blot in here, we get more of the, what the heck is this thing? His beast mode was the main draw of this guy. There's nothing showing here that was not present before. The fact that his head is made of this lighter purple, which really doesn't stand out from the rest of the body well, and because his head is here and this really wide body block is still here, it does not look like he's changed much. This is definitely the worst part of him. You get a nice beast mode, or at least a nicely done beast mode, even if it doesn't really look like anything. But the downside is that the robot mode has basically nothing going on. And that's unfortunate. Luckily, the same cannot be said for this guy. He does have some stuff going on. His body is a different shape, kind of, than his beast mode. His arms are the correct length. They're not a little bit too long, which means his legs are nicely in proportion, with his knees being bent here. Just focusing on the yellow again, these spikes look nice. And yeah, he's got all the same posability with the addition of, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a hinge right here, which can come out and allow his arms to move like this. This isn't entirely intentional for the robot mode. It's used for his combined form as a leg. But if you use this in his robot mode, you can do a lot more things with him, which I like a lot. I like that you can do that because I do really like this guy. He's got the ball-jointed hips. His knees can only turn outwards, or I guess can only turn 90 degrees from here, no, 180 degrees from here to here, 90 degrees from the center position, because otherwise they start banging their spikes on here. But it can be helpful a little bit if you want his knees to be splayed apart, and again, if you want him to look like he has to go to the bathroom. That's a pose that this guy pulls off very well. His feet have the posable claws on the front, so I guess you kind of have a tilt there, although the hinge is only really good for stabilizing him sort of forwards and backwards. I'm not good at doing poses on camera, so take my word for it or take someone else's word for it. Sorry about that. Battery died in the middle of filming. But we are back, and we were just about to give this guy his weapon, which is the hammer that Twin Strike, or Sinner Twin, also had. It's really up in the air for me as to which one of these guys looks the best with his weapon. Either Blot with the hammer or Ripper Snapper with his axe. I think this one isn't quite as well proportioned to his body as the pickaxe is for Ripper Snapper, just because I guess the thing about the pickaxe that I'm so indecisive about is the size of the head on here. The blade on it is so wide that you really need someone with a wide-looking body to make it look like this is proportional, and I think that's the reason it didn't work on Cutthroat, that it's just too big up here. Like, it's just too unwieldy for him. I think if it was something more in real life, I don't think Cutthroat would be able to hold that thing. And it's kind of a similar thing for this guy. If I were to, if these guys were to each have their own weapon or sort of have it customized for them, I think it would make more sense to make this shorter and the head bigger, since this guy does look strong, but holding something this long doesn't exactly work for his stockiness. But he does pose with it very well. He's got multiple shoulder joints, and his wrist turns a little bit if you want to be able to use that. And he can actually get in a few nice poses here. He can have it over his head, like he's about to whack-a-mole or play that strength game at the carnival, where you whack the thing and it goes up and rings the bell. And my preferred pose for him with this is to stick it in the bottom of his hand and then have him just drag it along the ground behind him. This guy, I'm going to keep saying it, is really, his character is stupid. He's smelly, ugly, and a knuckle dragger. And since he has a stick for whacking people with, it makes sense that he'd be walking around just kind of dragging this thing along and have it ready to use, or even throw at somebody if he's not feeling like being coordinated with his stick that day. You can also give it to him as a gun, just like all of these weapons, although a gun really doesn't suit this guy. If anything, he would take this, and this is why I wish he had a head swivel. You could almost hold it like some kind of machine gun, have him just spraying bullets everywhere, because there's no feasible way that this guy could aim this. So you do have the option, although, again, he's a big guy who looks like he's just gonna want to punch you or hit you with something, so the hammer works a lot better for him. And we'll do one final comparison shot with our two Blots. I think it's a no contest as to who wins the better figure designation here. Sorry, G1 Blot, but you were really just the prototype for what this guy could be. And like I said earlier, I really have a hard time deciding which one of these is my favorite, either Blot or Ripper Snapper. What it comes down to, honestly, is which one do I have more fun with? Which one am I more likely to just pick up and mess around with? And that would have to be Blot. Ripper Snapper is definitely the best toy and the best designed out of the group. He takes the original G1 style, he upgrades it a lot, takes the shark form that was really boring, makes it interesting, and his robot mode transformation is really unique and the most involved of all of them, meaning he gets a nice change between his beast mode and his robot mode. Hunger is a more in-depth update. He's probably the one that's changed the most from G1 till now, but although his robot mode is good, I don't like it as much as these two. But like I said, this guy is definitely better as a toy, better designed. But if I'm going to be honest, it's got to be Blot. He's the one that I'm always picking up and goofing around with. Although that's also for a reason that I have yet to touch on, the thing I teased earlier. And with that, we have finished officially covering all 5 of the individual Prime Terrorcons. So we're going to get one quick group shot of all of these guys flanking their fearless leader. Place Hunger in the middle here. Probably going to have to zoom out to make sure that all these guys stay in the shot. Yes, okay. Okay, so we're going to pull back for a sec, and we're going to sweep across. And here are the Terror Cons, all assembled and all ready to go to complete their true purpose and combine into Abominus. I can't wait for that to happen next time. I hope that you are looking forward to it as well. And it is time to see just how much extra these guys can do together as a team. So this is Highball Man here with Transformers Prime, Cyberverse Class, Predacon, Terrorcon. Blot, that's the last time I'm going to have to do this since I'm not referring to Abominus as being Cyberverse Class. And I am signing off. See you next time when things are going to get huge and savage.